Writing is about the process. It's about listening and recognizing remnants of your story in the stories of others. When we share our stories with each other, we share the resonance of the human experience. The By Firelight podcast is your invitation to join our circle, a circle of writers, poets, seekers, and storytellers as we capture our living in words. This multifaceted living with joy, grief, love, growth, and loss is shared among us in your legacy, your story. The things you choose to do with your days as they unfold matter here. I'm your host, Betsy Delzer. I'm many things, but in this gathering, I'm a painter, poet, and writer, and I'm honored to be your guide through these episodes. Together, we'll find our muses in the rich and heart-expanding conversations with incredible guests, many who are like minds and all outrageously inspiring hearts. When you press play, you're here in the circle to share this space with us. By Firelight.
Zoe is a creative visionary and storyteller who believes that without creativity, we are not truly living. She's passionate about writing, fashion, and every form of self-expression. With a bold perspective, Zoe encourages others to embrace their confidence and face the world fearlessly. Well, Zoe, I am so excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You know, Zoe, we know each other from a middle school experience that I had and that you had simultaneously. But I have this memory of one of my first days coming into school, and you had this wide brimmed felt hat on and like just this impeccable style. And I was like, I have got to know this person.
I remember that hat. I called it the Orlok hat because it kind of looks like a vampire.
Well, you are part of my series of teen writers, and I'm just so excited that we have crossed paths in so many ways and that you can be here. But one of the questions I love asking my guests is just the idea of if you were to imagine your younger self, which is quite a bit closer than some of my other guests, or your older self going to any age that you could imagine, what do you think that that version of you would want to tell us today?
The younger me would want to tell you if she's still drawing egg drawings and Shopkins and how she thinks her ballad about unicorns and wizards wasn't on the show America's Got Talent yet. She would like to tell you that, and that she went to Walmart and she got new dolls that day. My older self would probably say something along the lines of, did we finally achieve like the dream? And if we did, she'd probably talk about the movies that we made or the books that we wrote and published for the world to see.
Is that the dream for you, Zoe?
Yes, it is to write my own books and direct my own movies and just be part of a community of artists and be in that world for the rest of my life.
Oh, I love that. Well, you are in the company of artists for sure here on this podcast. So thank you so much for being part of the dream right here, just living it right here. Tell me how you got into theater and acting.
Well, I got into acting because since I was a child, I was obsessed with movies. I was obsessed with the way people would sing in songs. I have a distinct memory of when I was like 3 or 4 years old. My grandma Diane, she took me to a West End production of High School the Musical. And every Christmas we'd go to the fireside, and I remember watching these people just light up on stage. I saw their expressions, the way they talk, and I was just obsessed. I'd be like, they are who I want to be. And I have synesthesia, so I can see sound and color, and it just makes my experience go crazy. I just wanted to sound like them. I wanted to be them. It just filled me with such pride and joy to see that as a young child. That when I got up there, just on a middle school stage or improv and a random woods with my friends, I would just light up. I felt it rush through my veins, and suddenly all my worries would just leave. And it was who I could be and make these characters and decisions. And it just felt like such a ethereal experience of how I can do it. And it's just, it's very beautiful for me, and I love it.
I love that. You know, I don't have very much experience actually doing any sort of acting. So I've always been curious, like when you step into a character, do you find that you kind of like embody a different side of yourself? Or is it like still Zoe, but you're just, making pretend? Or how does that work for you? Because with this visceral experience that you're expressing, I'm like, I would be so curious what the character development is like for you.
So I have this thing when I write is that I become my characters. When I write, I talk in voices of them to get my words out. When I am writing my books and stories, when I am up on stage, Zoe leaves. She is no longer a part of this world. I make decisions and I sound like them. I copy people's mannerisms. When they're supposed to have an accent, I will listen to that person speak who has an accent for hours until I can copy it. I leave and become an entirely new person. Suddenly, all my inner thoughts aren't, I'm on stage right now. Oh my God. It's, I am an Irishman bringing fish to my mother and she doesn't like me. And it's this whole new me. And it's like I'm not even there.
Wow. That is so cool. I've seen you in a couple of productions that you mentioned in middle school, and I can really see how that would be true. Like as Scar, that was phenomenal. I mean, I was
Thank
really
you.
like transported through your expression of that character. That was really it. Was that one of your favorites?
It was. It really was. It was a lot of creativity decisions. I think Scar will always hold a special place in my heart because the year before I was very sick with depression. I couldn't move. It was like this sense of I had that in me the whole time and I just had to watch others take the stage in things I knew I could do, and feeling that disappointment in my ability to do my life that day filled me with such anger and rage that I knew I could go on that stage and I can blow these people away, but I'm not allowed up there because I've proven myself unworthy that day. And I remember breaking down in tears in the dressing room and just deciding that that will never be me again. I will get out of this one way or another, and I will prove them wrong. And I feel like the year of that play was really my way to come back and say, I'm still here and I can do this. I'm not lying. And like, just to show the school and the people who bullied me and the teachers who didn't believe in me, just to show them all, this is what I have. And that was so special for me.
Yeah, it was really powerful. You definitely stood in that light just in full graces, like all eyes on you. And my memories of it were just like you really took that character and did exactly what you just explained to us.
Yeah.
I'd be curious, Zoe, you have such a phenomenally creative mind, and you just mentioned kind of this experience of depression. How much of your art expression, whether it's because I see you in so many modalities, you're a seamstress, you're a fashion designer, you're an artist of so many media types, right? Like your drawings, your ink drawings, the things that you do. How much of your art is sort of an extension or expression of kind of your inner state or inner landscape?
Everything is an extension of me. Like the ink drawings are a kind of darker part of me. It feels like I can put my sadness into words with poetry, like I'm playing an instrument of any such. With my fashion, I can dress how I feel that day, how loud or quiet I want to be. With acting, I can finally put all my rage into words and put these characters out there. With stories, I do the same. Paintings, works, everything I do is this creative extension of all these different parts of me. Hundreds and thousands of tiny things I do every day is all these things I've worked so hard to be. And I think that's why I love art and all types of art. It's just each different media is an extension of who I am.
Yeah, that's really true. And you do an incredible job just kind of finding a channel for that. Yeah, I mean, as at your age, you're just starting high school,
Yeah.
right? And so to have this amount of just self-awareness and awareness of kind of the vision of your life, the dream, if you will, is pretty profound, like prodigy level. In fact, I mentioned this to you in Instagram or when we were DMing, but when I told one of your classmates that I was interviewing you, her reaction was, wow, she's such an icon.
That's so sweet.
You really are. You're so super unique. So how does writing fit into all of this art making and creative expression for you?
Well, since I've been a child, when I was growing up, I had dyslexia to a really, really bad level, to the point where when I was a kid and I like was very closed off from the world because it was COVID and such. So I would love talking to people and making friends and singing songs, but I couldn't write. I couldn't read. I couldn't ride a bike. I couldn't spell. I was known as the dumb kid through and through my whole childhood. That was the stupid girl in class. That was me. And I would sit there with all these ideas bursting out of me, and there was no way out. I would make stories to people that were so fake you wouldn't believe. Like, here's my basement. My dad killed a lizard. Like, I would just make these stories to the point where they would sound unreal if I explained them now, but in that moment, it was craft. It was what I did. And that lost a lot of friends when you were a child, because then you're just weird and dumb. And I remember sitting there one day in 5th grade and being like, all these kids are reading and they're writing, and I hate it. I hate that I can't do this. I hate that my brain is stuck and it feels like I am just this loser. And I remember my friend telling me, oh yeah, that's Zoe. She doesn't know how to read. Don't talk to her, to one of the new girls. And I broke down, but instead of crying, I was filled with such rage that I read the entire dictionary in one night and started memorizing words. And I learned how to spell in the following week, and I entered a writing competition beside her, and I got in and not her. It was my way of saying, don't you dare tell me I can't do it. Even inside, I felt like I couldn't. I was like, I don't like it when other people tell me that I can't, because watch me, I will. How dare you tell me that I am incapable of that? Mm-hmm. And instead of breaking down, I used that to fuel me in a way, to stop it. Because the more people that would punch me with their words or their fists, I had decided that I had enough. And that was the start of all the art. And using that, I turned the stories into words finally, and decided, my teacher, I remember her sitting down with me and telling me, you have something special and you cannot let that go. And I remember kind of breaking down at home a little bit and deciding this is what I want to do. I was gifted my first journal from my friend, and it had a Z on it. I decided that was for me. I was going to finally write them down. Even if nobody else could understand my words or the spelling, I was going to forge basically my own little language in my own little world. And I started making these characters and these worlds, and it just became the new me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you feel like you spend most of your time in sort of this otherworldly, like, fiction? I know it would, in some regards, you probably consider it nonfiction, but like, where do you spend most of your time when you're doing creative thinking and writing and expressing?
I spend most of my time writing and just listening to music and having the colors in my vision and the words that I am hearing just fuel me as I write them down. I do go to this other world, and I stay there for quite a while, and I blend that other world with the real world to create my reality. And it feels like a dream every day to walk it, and I get to choose things out of my own life experience and write them down, change them to my characters. They're living this at the coffee shop with that one friend, and I am making all of it off of the emotions I feel in life and putting it into my works. And I think that's like a really beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, what's interesting, I had a novelist, a young adult novelist, come on this podcast almost a year ago now. And she was one of my first guests. And she said that sometimes the character development is such that, like, she'll be writing and the character will actually make her pause because she is like going down the wrong way or the wrong path, and the character's like, no, I want to do this. So there is like this dance with this creation and this creative process. Do you find that to be true?
In a way, yes. My writing storytelling comes from a very strange place. I have lucid dreams, so my characters like kind of come to me in a dream, and I get to play out the scene how I want, and I'm there with them, and then I write it down when I wake up. So it's sort of like the characters, they showed me what they wanted in the first place. So I never necessarily lead them down the wrong path because they've already showed me. And it feels like I can now take this into my own hands and I will do them justice. In the next dream, the next night, I will find it again. And in that special place in my heart and in theirs, we will make this world together.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I'm wondering, Zoe, about anyone that might be listening who is just so inspired by your vision and ability to express yourself. What advice would you have for people who are wanting to sort of step into a more creative expression of their living or their ideas?
Start with who you think you want to be. Even if you don't know yet, think of like the style that you might want. What's on your Pinterest? What have you been looking at lately and saying, that's cool, I wish I was her? Instead of saying, I wish I was her or I wish I was them, start taking things from people. Be a thief. Be like, I like how that girl wears like suits, and be like, I can do that. Start looking at artists and being like, I love how they draw eyes, and start trying that yourself. And take things from other people and piece it into you. And if you want to be a lawyer per se, take things from shows, take things from people that you inspire to be, your heroes, things that you look at, and stop wishing that you could be other people and just find the you inside of you. And that's going to be the greatest freedom that you will ever grant yourself. And even if it takes years of your life, you're never going to feel freer when it's done. When you are finally on your own path and nobody else's, and you are putting your foot down, you're going to feel like this world is truly mine to take over. And I feel like I can do anything, because you can. That's when you realize that those sayings they told us in kindergarten were true. We really can be anything if we just change our mind in that way and start putting on the socks we wanna and changing our hair and becoming us inside and out. And that's my advice. You just really have to be you and find how that affects who you're going to be.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like I could listen to that advice every day and take something different from it. It's really beautiful. I asked if you had anything that you wanted to share or read to us today. Is there anything that you would like to share?
I do have a few poems. I have this one about kind of depression, and I love to share them because it makes people feel less lonely, I've found, when they're hearing things that they feel inside. And so I have this one titled Lies, and I would like to share it. So it starts with, "Would I like to tell you the truth? Yes, so here it is. I rot. I'm rotting. I don't know where to go with that. All I know is that I am sick, that every day I rot. Every single day my head gets harder to lift, my hands are weaker, my bones hurt even more with every step I take. I know that something is deeply wrong with me. Before I move, I am rotting. My mattress knows exactly where I sit. I know I'm psychotic. I know that I see things. I know that I'm not right, and they're not right. I don't know how to live in this world. I know I'm sick in the head. I know I should be put somewhere else, but I can't help but keep living. I can't help but keep going. It smells, it's moldy, it poisons me every single night, but I still curl up in it like it's the only family I've ever known. I feel it in my lungs, crawling up every inch of me like a worm, like a snake trying to bite through the skin, trying to get to the bone. I feel it eating away at everything I have left, every bit of blood, every hole that was already bitten, making it bigger than it already was. I feel the darkness, I feel the liquid poison, I feel the heart, and oh, how much it burns. I don't blame myself for letting myself right away. I blame the people who let me. I blame the people who tied me here and told me I was just fine. Now I no longer can keep myself from getting up. I have to rot. I have nothing else to do but sit here and rot until the day I die, until I am finally a crime."
Wow. How does that feel to read that?
It feels good to know how far I've come from that girl who sat down with tears in her eyes and wrote that.
Yeah. I feel like there's so many versions of you and of anyone listening, myself included, that could be comforted both in the space of feeling like we're rotting, right? Because it's somewhat cyclical, our sense of well-being, and then also just being on the other side of it. I love that. All right, what else have we got? Brilliant.
This one currently is in the American Library of Poetry and will be published in their Book of Excellence in the fall. It's titled The Dead Wear Ties because I am an activist at every level of my life. When I see unjust, I have a chance to take it down, I will. And so this is kind of about what's going on now and the things that we're seeing. It's called The Dead Wear Ties. We don't know the poison we are. We stumble through cities near and far, rot in our mouth and hate in our stare, marching to orders too dead to care, Red ties glint like blood in the sun, feeding the masses one by one. They scream of pride, of purity's flame, while the world forgets its very name. We will eat the poison you are, burn down your truth, rewrite the scar. Flesh for a flag, mind for a king. Obey, repeat, forget to think. Our bones rattle hums of a fascist song, taught that the weak never belong. A virus born, not in a lab, but in men who dream of power to grab. We don't know the poison we are, but the mirrors we cracked show every scar. We still march, no soul, no stare, just echoes and red ties from afar.
Wow, that's really powerful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I am very proud of that one.
Yes, you should be. It's compelling, and it calls us all to action, to be really honest, if we're listening close enough. Yeah.
I feel like that the people just sitting down and doing nothing. And though we have been put in a place now that we really can't do anything, we are so fearful and we have jobs to pay the taxes that we owe, that it is truly sometimes impossible for the people to go out and do things about it. So if I can just bring my one little piece of anything to the giant puzzle that is politics and life, I will put myself at that table and I will fight for the people who can't. And it's like my little thing.
Yeah. It's quite a big thing, actually, Zoe, because I've seen you fight for classmates and people that you know, and you really are a living activist for the things that you are passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any other piece that you want to read?
Yeah, this one's a little bit longer, but it's again that same kind of vibe of activism. This one, me and my grandmother actually, I wanted to say at a political rally, and maybe one day we can. It's titled Hate. Well, it's not really hatred, it's just hate. All of you are soaked in greed. We are made with broken skin. We are stitched from need and need. Cracks run through every soul. No one here is truly whole, but in those cracks we find our light, which makes us wrong, makes us right. It makes us human and makes us real. It teaches us to break to feel. It teaches us to love, to bend, to forgive and begin again. But some are born with holes inside, with venom laced in every stride, with cancer pumping through their veins and joy replaced by hunger pains. They march to offices on the hill where kindness goes to die, be still, where children's futures are erased and empathy is pure disgrace, where the cruelty becomes the law and justice leaves without a flaw. They are not human, not by soul, they are a sickness, dark and whole. Not flesh and not blood, not heart and bone, but a plague that chills you to the very stone, a poison dressed in red and white, with the chance of freedom screams of right. But they're only rights, not yours, not mine, unless you bow and walk their line. They call it patriotism, they call it faith. They twisted freedom into hate. They spit on truth, they torch the past. They tell you lies that always last. They train their young to hate and fear, to kill things they once held dear. When the neighbors disappear and when your friends breaks down in tears, and when the kid shows off his art just to be mocked and torn apart, you know the virus isn't gone. You'll know the country's soul is gone. You'll see the GOP has made a place where kindness dies in shade. They crowned a monster. They made him king. They let him burn down everything. While the people screamed and cried, the mega crowd just multiplied. With flags of red and guns of pride, with sculptures twisted, justice denied. They banned the books, they jailed the truth, they stole the future from the youth. They turned the poor against the poor. They locked the healer out of the door. And we watched, we stayed in line. We swallowed fear like it was wine. We begged for peace, we closed our eyes. We hoped for love would neutralize. But love won't break the chain. You cannot pray away the pain. You cannot wish the fire out. You have to scream, you have to shout. And still, we forget to fight. We forget what's right. We forget the silence in their shield, the tyrants that rise where their hearts are sealed. So now, in the land of the brave and free, belongs to those diseased with greed, to those who caged like the mother's cry, to teach the child that truth is lie. Even God, the ones we knew, is poisoned by what they now do. His name used not to love or save, but to dig a deeper grave. And we stand, we breathe, we wait. If we want to shift this fate, we must rise like fire, not like dust. We must remember what is just. When they scream to kneel and crawl, we must be ready to burn it all. Not with hatred, not with lies, but with the truth that never dies. Because this world was made to change. We are not rats in a cage. We were born with fists and flame, and we are not theirs. We are not tame.
I see that. I kept having visions of you reading that into a microphone, like at a rally or some sort of protest. Like I see throngs of people around you as you read that. That's really
Thank
incredible, you. Zoe. Yeah. And additionally, I was like, I can't wait to share this with several of my activist friends because there's so many parts. Z, like, I mean, the cracks in the beginning that you were talking about and all the imagery that you pulled us through, it made me want to both like pound my fist into the air, but also like clutch my heart at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you. That's how I was feeling. I was watching the news that night when they were building Alligator Alcatraz, and I just remember getting so angry that I couldn't do anything else but feel, or I went to outside and I just started screaming into a pillow that I brought outside because I was embarrassed at the anger I was feeling and the dark thoughts I had, and I was just like, I gotta write this down. I have to find a way to convey this feeling because it's across so many. Like my grandma will have to turn off her phone and get up and do something else because she is filled with such rage and people start crying, and I just like, I gotta put this down, this feeling.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I'm so glad you did, and it will continue to, I think, benefit just all of our action that we have to take, right? It's important.
Thank you. I truly love that.
Was that the last piece to read for this episode, or do you have one more?
I have another really long one about aliens, but I have this one tiny one that I wrote in that same sadness. It doesn't have a name yet, but I feel it is still so important, and this is the last one that I have collected. It's have fear. I have a fear that if I rip up my heart, it might poison the hole that it came from, and I'll have to walk around gaping from the wound that I gave myself. I have a fear that if I jump off a cliff, the water might reject who I am. The water and the waves might not welcome me. It just might be the cold wood floor that I fell asleep on. I have a fear that when I die, my voice will yet again be silenced, and no one will hear the stories I created. No one will hear the voice that I screamed. I have a fear that the people who loved me actually do. I have a fear that the hole they left might only grow bigger and blacker, and it might hurt more than the unknown ever will. It's small, but I feel that it does convey that feeling of just loneliness and silence.
Yeah. I feel all those words and fears as well. Yeah. Zoe, you are an icon. You are one of a kind. Your brilliant mind, your brilliant visions, the things that you're experiencing in the world. I want to say that I hope that this time that we've had together and putting your voice out into this platform is part of your dream of the dream that you mentioned earlier of just creating, publishing, and looking back and being able to kind of hold this as a little time capsule of the beginning of your high school years.
Yeah, so much is going to change.
So much is going to change, but it's so beautiful to be right here with you now. So if there is anything else, you're a very empowering and inspiring voice. Is there anything else you want to tell the listener, whether it's somebody your age, my age, or anywhere in between?
Mainly that you're gonna make it. You're not gonna die tomorrow, and even if you are, you're gonna do something great. People are gonna remember you, no matter that you feel that or not. Even if you're struggling, like all of us do, you're gonna do something great. Nobody has ever died and been not remembered by at least one person. You are gonna do really great things, no matter if you're 60, like my grandmother. She is still getting out there, and she's making her name heard after all this time. You are going to grow, and you are going to make huge mistakes, as I am and so many others are, and just fight for the people and for your neighbors, and put your fist up when you had to, and just stop being a bystander and be yourself and get other people to join that wavelength with you, because I know you can.
I know you can. I love that last word of yours, Zoe. Thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
By Firelight is a Lit Path Studios production and is produced by Jamie Gale and Betsy Delzer. Music is by Legito Music and Pond 5. Thank you for being a part of our beautiful collection of stories.